been a hilarious last 24 hours in cryptocurrency land since we last spoke, and Gary Gensler coming out and saying that the SEC Twitter's account has been actually hacked. It's been SIM swapped, and who knows what the hell that means as far as their actual security measures for the agency that is supposed to keep us all safe, and they're doing a great job with their Twitter account. Anyways, I did want to come at this video yet again with another hard reading of the major areas of interest, the major numbers that must be met in this next 24-hour period as to continue to govern the probabilities and possibilities for Bitcoin in the more near term. We're now talking about the next week to 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks of price action, let's say. And I suspect that this next week, particularly this time between today, Wednesday, and next Wednesday, is going to be the most interesting in terms of price action. So, without further ado, I want to welcome you back to the Krown Crypto channel, blah, 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 blah. Like and subscribe because that's what YouTube wants, and it's what I need for my soul. Anyways, get into the chart view over here. I want to once again revisit this chart right here. 2-day time frame, volatility versus stochastic momentum signature. Again, 2-day time frame volatility getting down towards extreme lows and expanding from those extreme lows has had a high correlation for an explosive move in the same direction as the 2-day time frame stochastic oscillator is pointed upon volatility expansion. We saw that happen upon yesterday's closure or yesterday's new period, and now today or tonight is going to be yet another new period. And as of right now, the 2-day time frame stochastic oscillator remains with upside pressure as long as Bitcoin is closing above 44,100. I'm going to say something crazy right now and say Bitcoin probably closes above that pivot tonight. So that's, it's less interesting to speak about as of this exact moment. Obviously, if Bitcoin were to close below it, I mean, that'd be a very obvious topping signal, and Bitcoin likely to, play out some sideways and down from here. Maybe the big correction that we've been looking for in Q1 of this year. But for right now, still, as long as Bitcoin is above it, I still do look at these statistics over here as relevant, or really these ones over here as significantly more relevant, as these are only the long setups, and we can come at this from a couple different metrics. But first and foremost, with yesterday's move, so remember, at the time of that tweet, or around the time of that tweet, I should say, Bitcoin did play up and make new highs on this rally, new yearly highs, or I guess it's not really saying much because 2024 just started, but you get what I mean. Just below $48,000. So when we look at this setup right here, we've already seen a decent move from that. To put that into percentage terms, it's been a little over an 18% move from the base, which is how we do measure these, by the way. And so just over 18% would actually put us within the lower end of the first standard deviation of expected results right here. You actually can't see it that well. I'll adjust this. There we go. Which gives us a range between about 17% to 38, 39%, with an average at about 27.70. So here's the thing. We do expect these setups to take about 2.5 weeks on average with a standard deviation of 7. So again, we're looking at a high probability of this occurring between about 10 days to 25 days. Somewhere around those numbers is fair game. Now, if we look at the timing of this, again, taken from the base, coming into tomorrow's new period will be day number 8, meaning that we're still kind of on the outlier side in terms of results. So I still do lean towards this unlikely to be done just yet to the upside, because that bottom end of the first standard deviation target was already met relatively fast. But in just 1 week from today, we will be, about 2 weeks out from that initial, base. And what that means is, or what that implies is that we really expect the majority of the results from the setup to have happened between that time. So here's the thing. If Bitcoin is going to continue, we would basically expect new highs between now and next Wednesday. How high can those come? Again, I'll just be looking at the average from that point, or in the low 20s, which would put Bitcoin in like the low 50s, like 51, 52,000 bucks. I don't think Bitcoin's going to hit the upper end of the first standard deviation. I think that's very unlikely on this move. I obviously can be wrong, but 56,000 bucks would be kind of closer to that. But for right now, two things are really, really important. One, Bitcoin must remain above this momentum pivot. Again, today's probably not that important because, I mean, it's important. It's just, it's kind of far away from current price action. But tomorrow's new period will have new numbers on this one. And that's going to be the next sort of governing principle. And then two, the timing of this. So it is now a race against time, I do believe, for the boo laws. And Bitcoin is, in my opinion, very deep within this current rally. I think that this one it's closing in on that next major high very, very soon in terms of timing. Probably a week, maybe two at most, if I had to guess. Maybe two at most. I think highs are hit within this next week, and you do see the big correction that we've been looking for in Q1 of this year to begin to play out. It's not going to happen all in one day. Obviously, it's probably going to take at least a month, maybe two. But we're getting really fucking close now. I can feel it in my plums. I can feel it in my damn plums. We're starting to get signs of weakness here. We're starting to see very volatile swings in both directions. These are signals of a major top or major bottom. If it was coming to the other side, obviously in this case to the upside, so it's going to be a major top. Happening relatively soon. You expect that to happen. In fact, if I go over here, we can see that throughout the past year, a little over a year now since Bitcoin bottomed, we've seen several corrections for Bitcoin. But as you can see, the corrections that we saw in the first half of 2023 were a little bit bigger, actually, but they took a lot longer. These were taking like 60 days, a couple months, especially for these two major ones right here. This one over here was about a month. More recently, in November and then again in December, Bitcoin played out these corrective phases as well, a little bit less on the percentage scale, but a lot faster, about 3 weeks. So ultimately, we are getting a lot of signals that this is going to be done. I'm going to say it straight up. This is going to be done very, very soon. And I'm not saying that it's going to be done for forever. It's probably going to be a major opportunity, but I do suspect that Bitcoin, if it does have another leg up, we might, who knows where a parabolic blow off comes, maybe on an SEC real announcement, could be 51, could be 52. Maybe there's some super crazy, you get like 57 or 55, whatever the fuck. I wouldn't personally be betting on that. But at that point, look for the big wick to the upside because we're starting to get a lot of signals that is indeed coming. Anyways, what else do I want to get into here while we are here? Let me just reference my notes. Okay, check out time. Yep, we're good there. I guess we can look at daily statistics. Wednesday, a little bit more likely to close negatively than positively. I look at this as more or less a coin toss right here. What's more interesting to me is the average return on both the positive side and the negative side. On the positive side, a little over 2.5%. On the negative side, closer to 2%. What's interesting about that is that if today is a positive closure, that actually closed Bitcoin on new highs, and that would be around 47,400, 47,500-ish region. If you do see that, yeah, okay, Bitcoin very likely going to meet somewhere around $50,000, maybe a little bit above, maybe a little bit below. Well, probably a little bit above, I suspect. Probably comes alongside an announcement as well. And we can look at this model over here as indicative that Bitcoin the next week, very likely, again, the time between today, Wednesday, and next Wednesday, very likely Bitcoin, just has free enterprise to rally to new highs. But after that, of course, I want to see it in real time, but just kind of spitballing here, about 7 to 10 days in advance, I'd be very, 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 very cognizant of a very likely high coming in before, a pretty major correction. Could be anywhere between 25 to even 40%. So yeah, anyways, okay, now that we've gotten through that, what would be the obvious area that if met today would say rally over? Well, the most obvious would be the 2-day time frame pivot failing at 44,100. That'd be pretty fucking obvious. Even if the daily closed down on stochastic momentum, I'd say that's probably going to be good enough as well. Current pivot is 45,500. So I would also be willing to say that this rally is called into question, especially if Bitcoin closed below 45 even, but even 45.5 is going to be questionable, pending, the next pivot on this. If Bitcoin opens below it, then yeah, okay. Top very likely. And until then, upside more likely. We have hit the first sort of major targeted region from this setup already, but now comes kind of the hard part. This is where like preferences and judgment calls as a trader come into play. And if you are playing stuff like this, a good little reminder is always that you can always take partial profits. No one went broke taking profits, as my mentor used to say. Anyways, okay, so we've gone through that. Let's go over here to this chart. Daily HPDR bands. Let's actually go to spot price action. What do we see here that is unique that we're not getting elsewhere? Well, what we can see is that HPDRV volatility is actually expanding now. We did identify the zero reads about about 10 days ago now, in late December. Expanding from there, again, is going to still favor the upside for right now. Daily HPDRO directional volatility also showing upside. So fair enough, again, these things do favor probably one more push to the upside. If Bitcoin were to come back down below the median here, obviously that would be problematic, but that's even below the 2-day pivot. So I think the two-day pivot is probably more relevant in the more near term. Even just coming back down below yesterday's low is probably gonna be bad enough, I suspect. Of course, to the upside, things become a lot more easy. Again, we do see that the basically 80% range highs is pretty much right smack dab on $50,000. And then from there, I've actually been playing with different numbers on these, but you can see the relevant regions. Not sure if I'll stick with these numbers, by the way, but just trialing something out, testing some new theories. But for right now, again, today's price action, very fucking important. I'd feel quite confident saying that we're going to see a high on this, whether it's like just now or just yesterday, or between now and 1 week from now. Very, very likely. Maybe a little bit more. But again, this is very fucking deep within this. So I just want to again prepare like this whole message on this channel, starting from about a month ago now, saying that, hey, okay, this Q1 correction, it's really starting to materialize here, I do think. So again, ultimately, it very likely creates a humongous opportunity. But these things are gonna, these things do take time, and you're probably gonna see a lot of you're gonna see a lot of emotions. You're probably gonna experience a lot of emotions. I'm gonna experience a lot of emotions if and when the SEC does approve a Bitcoin ETF. You're gonna see some crazy things on Twitter. You're gonna see some crazy things on YouTube. Just have your major numbers in mind already to execute upon, and then from there, well, I guess that's what tomorrow's video is for. All right, we'll end things right there. Again, just continuing to build up this, this overall picture here. We'll end things right there. As always, I want to wish you the best bets. Take care. Much love. See you hopefully tomorrow. Tomorrow's, I do believe, will actually be a very, very important day, especially as far as videos go, as we do update on this overall model. So, yeah, take care and see you soon.